Hey, morning guys. It is March 22nd, and I'm actually in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Our family came up here for the Sight and Sound Theater. If you've never been, you should look into it. It is an incredible theater that does productions of Bible stories. And when I say incredible, it is top notch. It is absolutely unbelievable. So today Chambers is looking at Luke 24, and if you know the story of the road to Emmaus, when the two disciples of Jesus post resurrection are walking to Emmaus, and Jesus appears to them, but he conceals his identity, and he starts talking to them, and they talk about all the things that have happened in Jerusalem. And then he kind of uncovers to them some wisdom about some prophecies and things. And they say in chapter 24 of Luke, after he disappears from their sight, and they realize all of a sudden who he was. They say, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us?" Were not our hearts burning within us? And Chambers deals with this, and this is actually a common criticism of the evangelical church, the charismatic church, as some people say, is the people that are given to emotion. And I would say we have to be really careful. We have to really temper that intellectual, I don't know if it's a criticism, but we have to be really careful, because Chambers would tell us that if our hearts are not touched by God, if our emotions are not turned, then maybe something's wrong. He talks about we have to keep that burning heart alive, that burning, what Jesus ignites within us. We have to really work to keep it alive, and don't let it kindle that fire. Don't let it go out. He actually says it's the dull, bald, dreary, commonplace day with commonplace duties and people that kills the burning heart unless we've learned the secret of abiding in Jesus. There should be emotion. I'm going to say this definitively. There should be emotion connected to the realization of who Jesus is, what he's done for us, and what he's doing in our lives. There should be emotion attached to that. Now, it doesn't have to be every day running around dancing, jumping, but we have to be really careful that we don't set that emotion aside and say that's not real. There's nothing real. We need to intellectually experience God. He says here, for instance, the only test as to whether we ought to allow an emotion to have its way, he talks about testing those emotions, is to see what the outcome of the emotion will be. Push it to its logical conclusion. And if the outcome is something God will condemn, allow it no more way. So he says, and I don't know if you can hear these birds, they're crazy around me, but if the emotion is producing something that does not push us to more godliness or push us closer to God, then we should set that aside, push it away. But if it's an emotion kindled by the Spirit of God, and you do not let that emotion have its right issue in your life, it will react on a lower level. If you don't allow it to do the work that God called it to do, because emotion's powerful, for good and for also for deception. Emotions can deceive us. Our hearts can deceive us. But if the Spirit of God has stirred an emotion in you, we should allow it to have its to play its course, to play its role. If the Spirit of God, he says down lower, has stirred you, make as many things inevitable as possible. Let the consequences be what they will. And here's what I think some people, and I would say some young people, especially the ones, and not to criticize or to point fingers, the ones that are given to liturgy, the liturgical church. I think we're afraid. I think some people, I'm not going to speak definitively, I think some people are afraid of what the emotion kindled by the Holy Spirit in us is going to do in us. They're afraid of letting go. They're afraid of letting it do some work that's outside maybe even of intellectual understanding. And I say we have to really be cautious and push back against that. We really need to push back against this this proclivity we have towards understanding everything. We can't. And so I would say to you, just like the two wanderers, or not wanderers, but the travelers on the road to Emmaus, when Jesus confronts you and deals with you, and it stirs something within you, let it play its course. Let it play its course. Don't push it down and think that that's something that's just an emotional response to something that should be intellectually grasped. So anyway, have a great day, guys.